Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Smite Minor League, or the Console Series, excuse me. The Console League's underway. Tom and Taco here, getting ready for European Powerhouses versus Revenge. That's the first match we're going to take on. Let's see what we're going to look at a little bit later. As we get things going, we'll dip into North America as well and see Elevate take on Astral Authority.
And I think Astral Authority also may be one of the teams in North America that have had not necessarily the results they've been aiming for in this split. So be interesting to see how they shape up against Elevate, because Elevate have looked really hot so far.
Yeah, I mean, almost untouchable, but Astral Authority, the fall from grace is what I've been focusing on. Used to be #1, roster changes to the now nowhere really close. EU Powerhouses versus Revenge, the squads that we're gonna start off with. What's your beat on the European guys?
I think that for the most part, you can kind of just expect Team RvL to be at the head of everybody else, and I think that RvL are slowly starting to transition some of that knowledge, I think, to some of the other teams in Europe. I think the region as a whole has steadily started to improve, and I'm curious to see how these two teams alone and their own differences are going to be able to match up against the other.
Yeah, Revenge has been a team that's really stepped up and really truncated everything that's going on. They tend to stop games short and really try to find themselves. Across the way, European Powerhouses, a team that is not unlike their namesake. They've been powerful when they do find their wins, but struggling to find themselves in their losses. I mean, it sounds kind of generic, but at the end of the day, European Powerhouses is they're either on or they're off.
I think one big thing about both of these teams is that they kind of tend to play up against the opposition that they're going against. I think most of the time in Europe, it's like, are we playing against RvL? Yes or no? If yes, then you're going to bring out all the stops. If no, well, I'm not sure that the same sort of encouragement factors are there. There's pride for sure, though, in the European region. I think especially ever since RvL managed to win at the most previous LAN, that really motivated the rest of the region to start playing a little bit more catch-up.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, Europe has just been the little brother to North America in the console scene. So seeing RvL be able to step up, and with newer blood, nonetheless, right? It's not the old guard that we're used to seeing on RvL. It's the new squad that used to be on one of those EX teams. So everybody coming together and looking strong there. That's on the other side. But European Powerhouses versus Revenge. Let's get into it right about now. Picks and bans for these two squads coming right now with the European Powerhouses on the left-hand side.
And you kind of have to expect both of these sides to be taking a lot of their play styles, I think, starting to mold themselves a little bit more towards that RvL style of play. We've seen a lot more aggression out of the European region in comparison to like previous splits, and I think that overall, no real surprises on that Odin ban away. I can probably expect to see some of the Athena and possibly even Ra being taken out here.
That's what I was thinking. The Ra's been really powerful. Pretty much all throughout different leagues, we see different picks and different bans prioritized, but Ra seems to be strong no matter what. And Revenge been looking toward the Aphrodite play that's going to be banned out in addition to the Odin and Terra across the way. Revenge with their last ban here. What do you want to see?
I'd personally like to see an Athena ban, but knowing these two teams, it's just going to be healer prioritization. Ra's still on the table if European Powerhouses want to opt for a more sustained sort of composition, but instead it's going to be the first pick of that Athena because she's wide open.
Yeah, and this character she can be paired with so many different other choices that makes her really just a choice that I'm never going to say no to. Achilles across the way for Revenge will be a nice look, whether it's in the jungle, the solo, or even the support role we've seen. But it's going to be followed up with a Poseidon. I like that choice because Poseidon into Athena has been a really powerful combo as of late for the past 5 years, but it's risen to prominence a little bit, so I think taking the Poseidon now is interesting.
There's pros and cons for sure in the Poseidon pickup. On the one hand, you have that Whirlpool, which is very effective against preventing her from the dash taunt factor, but then you also have to consider Defender of Olympus, all that damage mitigation on your Kraken, of all things. It'd probably be one of the worst case scenarios for Revenge here, so that's something that they're certainly going to have to keep in mind as they play through this one, but Xbalanque still on the table.
Geb is going to be selected here, leaving Shibi to see if he'll last through the secondary ban phase. I don't love Ratatasker into Poseidon. Rat, Thor, and Thanatos all fall into these categories of these three gods come down from the sky, and Poseidon responds by hitting beads, whirlpool, and crackening whoever was silly enough to land on him. So I'm a little scared about the Rat. With that, it's one of those matchups that is player skill dependent. You can dunk on the Poseidon if you're better than him. So this is European Powerhouses saying, look, watch out.
The Ratatoskr pickup also feels a little bit influenced by that semi-global advantage, because you already have the Athena. That's 100% full map coverage as it is, and then if you just want to build towards it or build onto it, then you have the other Ratatoskr that can do effective follow-up. There's also that Defender of Olympus through the Cosmos combination that can quickly rotate two members almost instantly to any team fight. I love the Guan Yu response. My main concern, though, for Revenge currently is just they have so much frontline potential, but where is their damage really forming around outside of this Poseidon?
Well, the nice thing is that they do have the Achilles, so they don't have to do all of the damage. Achilles can theoretically just execute everybody a little bit early. Jingwei going to bring some of the late game Hunter damage. Interesting, last thing I want to note as we get into game here, the Kerninos selection for European Powerhouses. Very interesting as we head into game number 1.
Kerninos just feels like a very aggressive Hunter pick here, and I like it into the Jingwei just because of the fact that you can have a little bit more of that lane bully potential, especially since you have the Athena for European Powerhouses. There's a taunt into the Bramble Blast that's going to be an effective root combination, maybe get some nice poke going, and I'm really just going to be looking towards, in fact, no, it's going to be Kimon instead with the Cerberus support and Athena in that solo lane.
I'll tell you right now that the Athena solo has been very interesting to me. I like Athena solo quite a bit, but it is kind of curious to see the Athena instead of the Cerberus in lane versus the Guan Yu. Both of them are going to have the option to cancel the Tallow Assault, and it's probably easier, I guess, for me out on the Athena rather than the Cerberus, but the Cerberus also naturally prays against what Gnome wants to do with respect to the heals. So I think the Cerberus might be a better choice on paper here, but when it comes down to player pilot ability, I mean, I guess that's a different story.
I think the main thing to keep in mind, though, is that Revenge, or at least I would expect Gnome, to have a little bit more experience and some of that veteran knowledge even to bring forward. I mean, at one point, he was on that best team in Europe, and now he's currently trying to make his stand with Revenge, and there's a lot of familiar names here even. You've got Reform Mango, who's changed his names a couple of times, but Mango at the end of the day has been around the scene for a while, and I think Ling and Zhuan as well have also started recently, been on more of the come-up. And I think that this, to me, feels more of a set that Revenge kind of has to be the victors of, if they want to prove to RvL that they're still eligible to compete with them.
Yeah, that's really fair. Eribiiax, one of the longer-standing players in the European console scene, he's on European Powerhouses, but other than that, generally followed by some of the newer names, which is not a bad thing. I want to make sure that I reiterate that RvL right now, even though they do have one of the classic members in the jungle, the other 4 players surrounding him are sort of the secondary phase of the European console players. Big poke coming out against Revenge here, and Warnock looked like he wanted to finish off Mango, but not going to have the opportunity there.
Just surprised that Eribiiax and Warnock didn't play more aggressive against Mango. I mean, he dashes in on both of them when Ling is still so far back that he couldn't really provide any follow-up.
Yeah, just wanted to play it safe, I suppose. If they are put down on the secondary foot, then it's really tough for the Ratatoskr to kind of come back in here. So wanting to keep things up, I suppose, as European Powerhouses, and that's exactly what they're going to at least try to do here early in the game number 1.
I think another reason, too, why they elect to back off is because Warnock actually didn't start with another item. Normally, we see Ratatoskr jungles, they'll pick up the first tier of the Mace Tree, or even going towards the Katana Tree at times. And, well, Warnock just elected to go straight into that Acorn, and while Ratatoskr has the advantage of being able to just finish his boots roaming the map, this also does take away having that additional 10-15 power, which makes a pretty big difference in the early game, especially against an Achilles.
Yeah, you're able to use that power and don't have to go anywhere to upgrade yourself, because you can just upgrade your Acorn in the jungle, just like that. So he does have rank 3 already online, so I guess there's something to be said about that, but I'm with you, Taco. I would rather see the free stats, quote unquote, than have him rush this Acorn unless he makes a play right now. If NeiI is able to kill somebody right now, then I think it pays off. But at the end of the day, Ratatoskr is a character that is either going to get you with the Okie-doke kill at level 2 or wait for his ultimate.
You're normally relying on the ultimate to get a gank off super early on because you have the full boots in comparison to the enemy jungler who typically has to be packing right around now if they want to even get into tier 2 of their boots. And so Ratatoskr, it feels like a lot of that advantage that Warnock could have possibly had, he's just letting go to waste here.
Yeah. He's being able to rotate the map, and there's no real reason for him to. I love when players deviate from the norm. I really do, because it causes us to think, right? So if NeiI was on a team who was losing in all lanes, I think I'd support this as well, right? Because 20% movement speed, nice and early, allows him to sort of play root beer tapper, if you will. Go to lane, fix, go to lane, fix, go to lane, fix. But that's not the case either. His team seems to be relatively fine. In fact, Kimon here going to get knocked up by XuenMushh. So he re-enters the lane, but here comes the Ratatoskr, missing the knockup, missing the stun. And Zwen's able to walk away there. But Ling with the rotation. This could be a big Poseidon punish. The sprint is popped because they see the mid lane mage making the rotation. Whirlpool, Kraken, first blood. LingXiaoWho gets the first kill for Revenge.
Perfect cutoff, but it looks as though Warnock's trying to get revenge for his teammates. He's got no mana left, however, and could possibly end up falling himself. No, instead, will retreat back into the safety of his T1 tower, but look who's on the back end.
It's going to be Woolvie knocked up. Here he is in trouble. The ultimate from Mango. Gonna miss. You can't miss that one, buddy. Rough stuff for Revenge, but luckily they were on the aggressive, so they don't lose anything for it. Poor look for the jungler, that is. But other than that, not too big of a deal. And I guess when you're following up on the poor jungle performance of NeiI's, I mean, that was a gank. That was a first blood easy for EP. And missed not just the knockup, but also the stun. I find that you can miss one of those if you're ganking and still kind of get the kill. But with no crowd control, you're just landing in lane. Not a good look.
Also, NeiI trying to dump his entire kit onto a Geb. And even though Zuen is level 4, it's still a Geb at the end of the day. A fairly hard target to confirm a kill on, especially when your duo lane hasn't hit level 5 themselves. So there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for follow-up there. And I think that in the end, European Powerhouses probably just a bit of a sour taste in their mouth. I mean, you're the ones that try to take the initiative, and then you end up getting turned upon. The only benefit, really, is that Mango goofing on a freebie.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, you already lost the first blood, so I don't know. Poor look for European Powerhouses. Hopefully they can bring it back together here later on. Right now, Poseidon, though. LingXiaoWho is who really took the spotlight, I think, last week when we highlighted the Revenge squad in the console league. So I think he's continuing to do it here as well as performance, just intelligent game sense to make that rotation when he did.
I love this invid right now, though, from Revenge. You've got Warnock in position, knows that he's got to go up into that through the Cosmo, is going to maybe look for a steal, but instead it's all about going on Ling on the Poseidon.
And there's the Kraken already down, which means he can safely land, finds the knockup this time, and that's how you do it, buddy. Nice redemption play for NeiI. And again, I love the way he patiently waited there, and that's going to be a dead Geb. NeiI gets a double kill off of big damage coming out from Eribiiax.
Just seemed as though Zen picked the wrong pathway.
Yeah.
There. Was kind of expecting Mango to have his back, and there just happened to be no one there to actually follow up with him. Meanwhile, European Powerhouses just had 4 members sitting around in that mid side, but they will end up losing their purple buff, so not a total loss if you're Revenge, just at the cost of 2 of your teammates, probably not worth the purple.
For as poor as the first gank was for our Ratatoskr player, I think NeiI really made it up there in the secondary play on top of the Poseidon. I mentioned how devastating it can be for these characters that dunk down from the sky against Poseidon specifically, and he waited that out. It's not like he saw the animation and said, okay, I'll go when this is finished. He sat there and didn't do anything. Forcing, you know, Ling said, look, I have to execute the Poseidon ultimate. There it goes. And then NeiI comes down, patiently waiting after the fact. I mean, that's how you do it. Textbook play. Good job.
Ling also dropped that Kraken on Keemon, so
yep.
it was the right choice for Warnock to just wait that one out. You have the benefit of being able to see everything that's going on at the bottom of that through the Cosmos, and I also like the rotation out of MeiaoNei. I think that the Defender of Olympus was really well timed because otherwise you might end up seeing the Poseidon trading out with a clean 1-for-1.
Yeah, nice. Again, game sense has been positive for me watching these two teams go about it. Gino had a decent performance last week as well, reprising himself on the Jingwei, finding the knockup. There's the ultimate coming out from the Geb. The crits are good, but the immunity sends Gino into the air on the ultimate. One more, two more shots, but the shield is good because Jing not so good. Gino gonna miss half of those basics and leave the kill on the counter. Woolvie goes back, thanking his lucky stars. Meanwhile, in the jungle, different story. NeiI gets a kill on a Mango.
And now the chase is on. They're still looking for more. Ling going to use his purification beads in an attempt to get away, but NeiI with the perfect cutoff. 4-0. He is the entire scoreboard right now for European Powerhouses.
Not done. MeiaoNei goes in. Shield wall dropped. Beads used to get the better of the taunt. Nice play there from Gino, but it do not matter. NeiI follows up with the unofficial triple kill. But the late rotation from Gnome could turn things around. Stun on top of the Athena. Down goes Eribiiax. Woolvie and NeiI are low. MeiaoNei going to rejoin the rest of the squad. Revenge backs off. European Powerhouses 5 to Revenge's 2, 9.5 in.
This is still such a huge win, though, for European Powerhouses. This is the kind of start that you want to see your Ratatoskr jungle really make. And I say that purely because of the fact that Ratatoskr isn't typically a jungler that transitions very well into that late game. It's the early and mid that you really want to reap the benefits of that semi-global ultimate. And I think that Warnock, the first one, might have just been a bit of a doozy. And then he seemed to clearly pick it up after that.
Listen, plenty of players strike out there first at bat and then wind up going 5 for 6, right? So NeiI Warnock certainly trying to warm up there and shake off the poor first play.
I do want to see this Ratatoskr focus a little bit more on farming the map, though. And Mango shouldn't be this close in terms of experience. I think that Mango is right on the cusp of hitting level 10. There it is, just ticking in. So probably Warnock sitting around 3/4 of a level ahead.
Yeah, you can see actually just into 11, so it's not as far. I'm with you, not as far ahead as we might have liked to see, but that's sort of the tax, right? For finding the ganks and helping out your lanes, you do wind up losing just the pure farm. Look at that, NeiI Warnock kind of hanging out on that right side, maybe looking for the Guan, not getting any farm for that sort of interaction.
I also like the early on Kile rush because that's exactly what you'd want if you're going to be diving straight into that Poseidon.
Yep.
The Kraken hits you, you want to be able to avoid everything that might follow up after, so that momentary second of silence could actually buy Warnock his escape.
Yeah, the ability to jump down, get hit by the whirlpool, and send the Poseidon player into a silenced frenzy is pretty nice when you're trying to avoid all that. But Warnock not trying to avoid the war. Not going to be able to catch up to Gino, and so that's that.
Just a little bit too far out there, and Gino with the ward, exactly where Warnock was trying to make it, but he still pushes up anyway, and Woolvie getting credit for the kill. Gino knew he was there.
Yeah, you know what it was? I think Gino saw Warnock's ult down and said, all right, with the ultimate down, I'm okay. I guess not. Gino falls down for the second time this game.
His agility was probably still on cooldown, and that's going to be an execution perfectly for Reform Mango. There's the combination we've been wanting to see from the Poseidon, but it's not over just yet. The Apple going to spread onto Zen in the mid lane as Eribiiax and MeiaoNei managed to get away.
Very, very low. But they still do escape. And P.S. it was all a ruse. European Powerhouses go ahead and duo the Gold Fury between the jungler and the hunter.
The dangers of losing your ADC so early on into a match with a Kerninos on the map.
Yep.
And I think it's important to note that it's Kerninos because melee range means bonus damage. Like the response, though, from Revenge, heading straight towards that Pyromancer. Get what you can take. But losing out on the Gold Fury just exposes Gino even further because that's less incentive for Mango to want to venture over into the duo lane and look for some return ganks. Why? What's the point of even bothering when Gino's still sitting 2 levels ahead of Woolvie? He's been soaking up all of this solo farm XP, and yeah, he might have taken a bit of an untimely spill, but it's not something that Revenge can't recover from.
Exactly. If I'm on Revenge, I'm telling my team to dig in, buy wards, and just farm. Because that's how you can punish this Ratatasker, who's proven he's 5-0-1. He's all over the map, right? This is a kill every 2 minutes. And his fanaticism to the action Kraken used defensively, his desire to find all these ganks as he looks on the back line, misses out on another kill. XuenMushh is in trouble, but here's the return from Revenge. Eribiiax, invisible, still gets caught up by the Hunter, and there's the kill. Gnome combines with Gino to take one down. NeiI on the top end ends the life of the Geb. And looks like he'll wiggle on out of there. Athena and Woolvie by themselves onto Gnome. But again, able to walk away. Nice plays there. Plays plural from Revenge, but they do lose their Geb.
Warnock, having just backed for that blink, gets a little bit lucky there that Zen decided backing underneath his T1. Probably not the most safe option considering how many bodies were in mid for European Powerhouses. So that was a bit of an unfortunate death for the Geb, but European Powerhouses had to find something.
Yeah, and that was kind of where I was going. Revenge should just ward up and play super safe and look for the farm, because European Powerhouses have shown that they're gonna be ganking and diving, and if they're doing that and you're playing safe and avoiding these ganks, which Revenge have already shown that they can, then European Powerhouses isn't really doing anything. So I think just digging in and warding up and playing safe is the right move for Revenge, and they'll be able to keep their lead.
What's odd, though, is that European Powerhouses, they get the first goal Fury. They find 5 unanswered kills in a row, pretty much, for their Ratatasker, and yet Revenge are the ones ahead in gold and experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's because they've been sort of doing, to a lesser extent, kind of what I've been asking. They've just been putting their head down and go, okay, thanks for ganking. Sorry it didn't work out. We'll see you later. And they're getting baited into some of these fights, right? If Revenge just ignore all of the fights, I think they wind up as the better team right now. NeiI is ignorable.
Well, Revenge certainly have a little bit more of a late game oriented composition. That's kind of just safe to assume that anytime you see a Geb, and Zen's duty realistically in the early game is not to stay alive. Well, it kind of is, but you know as a Geb you're most likely going to get targeted because this is your most vulnerable period. The big thing here is keeping Gino and Zuen alive long enough that they can continue to make more reliable games. Speaking of which, Reform Mango in a lot of trouble, actually. Kraken one more time going to have to be used defensively as that Defender of Olympus comes forward.
Zuen's in trouble. It might not be his job to stay alive, but I'm sure his teammates hope that he will. Kraken already down, so the Whirlpool will have to do. Gnome shows up, chasing down the carry rather than Mage. Eribiiax going to jump on out of there, no problem. But
Fine.
I don't know about that one, little buddy. NeiI's going to have to back to base with the Gold Fury coming up in about a minute. So he'll be back in time. Revenge kind of hoping they had that fight a little bit later.
Gino might have died first, but Woolvie has not been having the best time in this dual lane. His tower is sitting at around half health, so he's been losing out on most of the experience, and I think it's mainly just the fact he can't keep up with Gino's active backs.
Yeah, that's the key, is that the passive from Jingwei allows him to just be a bigger part of the economy, if you will, buying more stuff at the store and able to just head back to base and return the lane a little bit more efficiently. You see this, I mean, this is very standard from Jingwei's to be ahead by a little bit. By 2 levels is a little bit different. Woolvie should be behind, but not this much.
And Gino probably more than happy to maintain his steady 1.5 level lead. If this continues, Gold Fury has respawned. Revenge could very likely just head on over, group up, and kind of just force the advantage that they have with their experience.
Yeah, right now, Revenge seems like that could be part of their plan. Also up about 1,000 gold for what it's worth, but not worth really all that much.
And Gino's already got the Poison Star finished off, though, and Woolvie's still sitting only at the Executioner. Hasn't even started building into crit, if that's even going to be his 4th item of choice. But
well, there is the lack of Hunter's Blessing on Gino. So I think that's a big part of that. How much does that hurt the build, though?
Not really. At this point, it's not going to affect
It's
Gino
over?
at all. The only time it really might make a difference is during the starting phase if you're able to punish that Jingwei effectively. But they got one successful gank off against Gino, and that was it. He hasn't had any issues with surviving since then. He was never really put behind. So that lack of a Hunter's Blessing is just already being made up for because he's finished building into the Poison Star. Woolvie still can't afford to one-on-one box him.
So instead of like the extra basic attack damage or whatever it is, he just has more real stats, if you will.
I think that the crit stat is definitely more relevant than the additional MP5 and the 15% attack speed. There's a little bit of bonus power on those autos also, but not enough to outweigh that of a full-built Poison Star.
So at this point in the game, Revenge certainly have the upper hand, but it's European Powerhouses with that Carninos damage that are starting things off. 25%, 10%, 5%. They're just going to stick to it. Revenge just didn't do it.
I don't know what this fear of commitment is from Revenge.
I mean, I'm familiar with that mentality, but I'm not familiar with this mentality of just letting the Gold Fury go. I mean, Revenge were in position and were lightly zoned, but I don't think they were zoned so hard that they couldn't join that conversation.
Well, now they're trying to force the T1 tower in mid, hoping that European Powerhouses won't have the response necessary. Warnock already falling incredibly low in that Fatal Strike range, but the execution is not there.
Nice blink. Nice blink. Puts the Ratatasker behind his own lines. There's a nice Kraken. Gonna knock two players up, but not gonna bring them down. Too tanky is the European Powerhouses roster. Revenge go ahead, lose the Gold Fury, get the Tier 1 tower, get the Pyromancer. And that'll keep their previous about 1,000 gold lead intact. But I'm sure they would much rather this not be the same lead, but a more substantial one.
That just felt like such an unnecessary Gold Fury to lose because
It really was.
it was a clean 4-on-4, and Revenge are zoned away by what? No one was actively zoning from European Powerhouses. They were just standing around and looking at each other.
Yeah, I mean that was. I would love to be in the comms for European Powerhouses, because I really feel like the call there is pull it and then disengage when they come. And then I feel like anybody that's ever scrimmed or played a competitive game of Smite has had that moment where, oh, they didn't do the thing we thought they would, and everybody laughs and backs to base.
Well, Revenge came to the Gold Fury, but it felt like they were just cheering on European Powerhouses while they take it.
Yeah, they were like outside knocking on the door. You ever watch like TRL or something? The people are outside in the background like, yeah, Carson Daly. That's what it kind of felt like. Mango showed up or Zwen showed up. It was like, yeah, Warnock, you can do it. Get that gold.
In terms of objective secure, it's definitely in favor of Revenge with that Kraken. Eribiiax, Golden Apple, just not going to have the same sort of effect that you'd want on that objective secure. You're looking mostly towards, I guess, the Strife to hopefully Madness members away, but none of it even necessary if Revenge are just going to let European Powerhouses take it for free.
With that said, Revenge have been able to mitigate their given up objective. Still in the lead, and even more so than before. So, looking cute, feeling cute. Revenge just continuing their lead despite losing the objective. Oh well. I mean, there's nothing to complain about if they're crushing it. So, 21 minutes in, 2,500 gold up. Sure. I don't really care about anything that happened if I'm on this team. I'm just sitting here saying, look, no matter what, we're in the lead, and that's what's up.
And it's going to be Revenge pushing the advantage even further, invading European Powerhouses speed buff. Gino going to be forced into that airstrike away from everybody, but that's a huge amount of disrupt.
Now looking for the jungler on the backside. Going to land next to Gino. Different story up front. Woolvie gets one. Nice ultimate coming out from Kimon, the Cerberus player. European Powerhouse is trying to catch up to Gnome, who does get stunned. And the Odysseus bow just chaining damage throughout everybody on Revenge.
Egg is going to be forced because of Warnock's blink forward. Mango now getting caught up in the Strife, but everyone just has no mana from Revenge. They're going to have to fall back. This is going to be European Powerhouses re-sieging that T1 tower from Revenge. And Fire Giant still on the table. Could be the next option here for European Powerhouses because everybody from Revenge sent it back.
That's exactly what they're doing there, Taco. Last time around, Revenge didn't show any interest. This time, Gnome is going to walk up. 10%, there's the Taulo. And European Powerhouses taunt him out of it. And they take the Fire Giant. Revenge now tied up with European Powerhouses having all of the momentum in the game.
Gnome's got to be careful. He doesn't want to push much deeper. There's no one from his team to provide backup in case things go wrong for him. And fortunately enough, European Powerhouses clearly only interested in the Fire Giant for good reason. Their members still sitting low enough to where if the entirety of Revenge were to rotate in, could very likely end up picking a couple members from European off.
Yeah, that's the goal, but not the tail of the tape.
Again, though, it's just free objectives left and right for European Powerhouses. All Revenge have really managed to respond with is Pyromancer sieges, but those are essentially nothing in the face of a Fire Giant and Gold Furies.
Well, Meownate going to be pushed out. Revenge here. Not the upper hand, but looking to take it away from European Powerhouses. Nice zoning away from the Gold Fury Revenge is doing right now.
All 5 members of European Powerhouse is about to be grouped, though, and doesn't look as though they're going to let Revenge have this in the same fashion as earlier. Xuen going to pop in, drop the Cataclysm onto 3, but no eyes for the follow-up.
Ratatasker on the back line is going to force the Kraken out defensively, and Woolvie is the one to take down the Guardian. Nice taunt on the backside, however, 1 and 2 are better. Revenge with 2 kills on the side of European Powerhouses. Make that 3 as Mango comes through and juices the enemy. One more time, Eribiiax goes down. Meownate's next. That's going to be the triple kill. Rolling good. Revenge answer back. They've got 9 kills to match European Powerhouses, and all of the Fire Giant having teammates are gone.
It won't just be the Fire Giant that European Powerhouses end up losing. Creep Wave in mid means that a Phoenix is bound to fall also because Gino's still alive, perfectly healthy. Reform Mango should be able to acquire the T2 in duo by himself, and what looked like such a promising period for European Powerhouses is just completely 180.
Yeah, rough, as the dog would say, for the European Powerhouses. And here he comes.
You know what it was, though? European Powerhouses let the Poseidon Whirlpool split them up too much. The Whirlpools and that effective Gem of Isolation just combined really well to ensure that European Powerhouses couldn't stay grouped up. That's been the key here, is Revenge splitting apart European Powerhouses.
Neil shows up looking for Gnome and likely will get him. Ultimate from Discordia expended, but Revenge get a tier 2, 2 tier 2s, tier 1, a Phoenix, wiped the entire Fire Giant team. I'd say that sequence was a win despite Gnome falling down.
The only thing missing would have been the Gold Fury, but I respect Revenge not going for it because Phoenixes are infinitely better.
Oh yeah. Phoenix does respawn, but never the same after the fact. Meownate going to rejoin the squad, dash forward, there's Xuen, but the Kraken on the other side proves fruitful, and Kimon dies to the reformed Mango. Backline is trying to be contained, won't be the case. LingXiao in trouble from Woolvie, but the response from Mango, fantastic. Mango and Gino combined for the kill, blinking forward one more time is the Achilles. There's some help from his friends, and Gino gets a double, 4, 2, and 6. For the Jingwei.
Really well played by RvX there, though, to take out the Poseidon, but it might have been too little too late. 4 members still dead from European Powerhouses, and with 3 alive from Revenge, this could very well be the end of it. No, it does seem as though European Powerhouses are going to be able to hold on just a little bit longer because Revenge not feeling as comfortable trying to take down the Titan, and I respect that call.
Geb just a little bit lower than he'd like to be before they go in for the final push. I think that's fine.
Look at this army of archers.
Yeah. It's effective. Well, until Ratatasker shows up and throws his acorns at him.
I think he missed the dash. Just a little bit there.
He did.
It'll be okay, though. It's fine. He was expecting them to move forward, and they didn't.
I believe that's actually believable. I'll give you that.
This is how we save them.
Woolvie here, the Odysseus bow, before the chin side. An interesting choice. Usually Odibo is your last item. The Chinsai comes on a little bit later. Here's the thing. This is almost certainly blatantly incorrect on paper, but I think what happened was Revenge was sieging, and Woolvie needed an item right here, right now, and could afford the Odysseus bow and not the Chinsai. And in that light, that is the right choice. I'd rather you have an item than save for an item, you know?
I think the big thing, too, Odysseus bow is actually pretty strong. We're going to have to hold that thought now because Reform Mango trying to help pincer European Powerhouses while Revenge are just pulling the Fire Giant. No one from European Powerhouse is able to actively contest, and now they're all in the retreat. Woolvie going to be the first one getting cut off by Mango.
And the Athena ult, that's going to be Mango getting the kill anyway. Eribiiax going to turn things around and take care of the jungler for his transgressions, but those two are just going to be a little bit better. And 3 players down for European Powerhouses. This could be the end for them.
Gino is just putting in work right now. I mean, 3 members dead for 40 seconds plus, only 2 left alive to defend, one of them being Meownet on that Athena, just won't have the damage. Titan already getting shredded as Gino looking to kill Eribiiax even in the fountain.
Yeah, Meownet showing what he can do, but it's just not too much. 3,000 HP left for the Titan. And Eribiiax does get Zwen, but that's going to be that. Revenge take this in just under a half hour of play. Fantastic stuff coming out from Revenge.
It was pretty shaky at the start, I'm not going to lie. Revenge certainly not really looking as clean as what they were probably aiming for, but they did manage to secure it in the end there, largely due to that fight that happened at the Gold Fury.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one, just able to go ahead and chase after the fact. They kind of watched European Powerhouses take the Gold Fury, but after that, punished them after, so that works out. And then, of course, crunching down on the Fire Giant squad. That was a big deal. European Powerhouses take that, but Revenge are able to answer again.
I think, like I said, it would mostly have to be Gino here. He was top of the player damage charts there at the end for Revenge. Those crits just coming through massively. I think the main difference between these two teams was Woolvie couldn't free cast at all. He was constantly getting smothered, kind of felt forced into that Chinsai's attack speed penetration build to help handle the Geb a little bit more. And then, of course, when you have the ability to build triple crit, like we saw, it's just too much to handle most of the time. You're never going to win the boxing trade against the Hunter when you're the attack speed and pen build versus the full crit.
Yeah, carries where Gino kind of had his way, could do anything he wanted, but a big part of the win also came out of the jungle. Reformed Mango came through. This was an exciting triple kill here. Let's take a look at what the Achilles player was able to do with that execute in just a moment. Here it is. And just turns around, gets a different target, and this whole thing winds up being a triple kill for Mango.
And I just like the way that Revenge played this. It was so efficient, just the perfect cutoff of European Powerhouses. You had 2 members go to the left, the other 3 went to the right, and I just really enjoy the way that Revenge chose to handle that. First going for that front line and then making sure to eliminate the carries. They knew that if they split up the front line from their carries, then there's no one left to defend them. Yeah, exactly. Just able to create their own scenario. And that's exactly what they did to find the win. Revenge has 1 game. Let's see.